Barbering tools can be used in several different ways to cut hair. The most common techniques used in barbering are fingers and shear, shear over comb, freehand clipper cutting, clipper over comb, razor over comb, and razor rotation. The fingers and shear technique may be used on many hair types, from straight to curly. There are three basic methods for using the fingers and shear technique: cutting on the top of the fingers, cutting below the fingers, cutting palm to palm. Cutting on top of the fingers is frequently used in men's hair cutting to cut and blend layers in the top, crown, and horseshoe areas. Start with the client facing the mirror. Palm your shears and slice out a horizontal 1/4 inch parting of hair. Comb through the section at a 90-degree elevation and follow it up to a comfortable eye level. The fingers and comb should be in a horizontal position parallel to the floor. Palm the comb. Position the shears at the tip of the fingers, holding the hair section. The fingers and shears should be parallel to each other as the cutting begins. This fingers and shear placement will be used to cut 90-degree layers within the sections of the head form wherever appropriate. Cutting above the fingers is also used to cut vertical sections of hair. With the teeth of the comb facing you in a vertical position, comb through a vertical section of the side or back hair just below eye level at a 90-degree elevation. Position the first two fingers of the opposite hand underneath the teeth of the comb and follow it out to the side with the tips of the fingers pointing downward and perpendicular to the floor. The fingers and comb should be in a vertical position. Palm the comb in the opposite hand while simultaneously positioning the tips of the shears on top of the tips of the fingers, holding the hair section. This fingers and shear placement will be used to cut 90-degree vertical layers within sections of the head form, using the perimeter as the initial guide. Cutting below the fingers is most often used to create design lines at the perimeter of the haircut. With the teeth of the comb facing downward, comb through a section of hair at a 0-degree elevation. Position the first two fingers of the opposite hand just above the comb and follow it down to the desired length of the hair. The fingers and comb should be in a horizontal position. Palm the comb in the opposite hand while simultaneously positioning the tips of the shears just below the fingertips, holding the hair section. The fingers and shears should be horizontal and parallel to each other as the cutting begins. This fingers and shear placement will be used to cut a 0-degree design line along the perimeter or to create weight lines in sections of the head form. Cutting palm to palm may be preferred by some practitioners to work specific areas of the haircut, such as diagonal lines behind the ears when the length permits the technique. Care must be taken not to bend the hair or to project it higher than intended from the head form when using this method. The next method of cutting hair is referred to as the shear over comb technique. It is used to cut the ends of the hair and is an important method used in tapering and clipper cutting. Most shear over comb cutting is performed at the nape, behind the ear, around the ear, and in the sideburn areas of a cut. However, an entire haircut may also be accomplished using this method. To utilize the shear over comb method, position the shears by inserting the thumb into the thumb grip and the third finger into the finger grip. The little finger usually utilizes the finger brace of the shears. Open and close the shears using the thumb to create the movement. The comb is held in the opposite hand with the fingers placed on top of the teeth and the thumb on the backbone of the comb. Align the still blade of the shears with the comb at the level where the teeth join the back. The shears and comb should be parallel to each other. The comb is moved upward and rolled out through the hair as the shears open and close in tandem with the movement of the comb. This action is called rolling the comb out. To comb through the hair section to check the work, roll the teeth of the comb away from you and back into the hair in a key turning motion. Shear point tapering is a useful technique for thinning out difficult areas of the hair caused by hollows and whorls in the hair or creases and wrinkles in the scalp. Only a few strands of hair are cut at a time and then combed out. Continue cutting around the objectionable spot until it becomes less noticeable and blends in with the surrounding outline of the haircut. The arching technique is a way of marking the outer border of the haircut along the hairline at the bottom of the sideburn, in front of the ears, around the ears, and down the sides of the neck. This outlining technique can be accomplished with clippers, outliners, razors, or the points of the shears, and is part of the outlining finish work of most haircuts. To perform the arching technique with shears, use the following method. Use the tip of the finger to hold the client's ear out of the way and make an outline around the right ear as close to the natural hairline as possible. Start in front of the ear and cut a continuous outline around the ear and down the side of the neck. Reverse the direction of arching back to the starting point. Continue arching around the ear until a definite outline is formed. To arch the left side, start in front of the left ear using a backhand shear position and cut a continuous outline with the shears over the left ear and down the side of the neck. Reverse the direction of the shears and return to the starting point. Continue arching around the ear until a definite outline is formed. Square off the left sideburn to match the right sideburn. Clippers and outliners can also be used for the arching technique. Many barbers prefer to use an outliner or trimmer with a fine cutting edge to square off sideburns and perfect the outline around the ears and down the sides of the neck. This method of arching is efficient and precise due to the maneuverability of the smaller cutting head of the tool. When arching with outliners or clippers, the tool is placed at a slight 45-degree angle at the hairline, and only the first few teeth of the blades do the actual cutting. Clippers are one of the barber's most versatile tools because they can be used in several ways to produce a variety of haircuts, textures, and styles. The standard techniques are freehand clipper cutting and clipper over comb cutting. As a general rule, clipper cutting is followed up with a shear and comb work to fine-tune the haircut. To hold the clipper for freehand clipper cutting, place the thumb on the top left side of the clipper with your fingers underneath along the right side of the clipper. Hold the clipper firmly but lightly to permit freedom of wrist movement. Freehand clipper cutting requires a steady hand and consistent use of the comb or hair pick while cutting. A true freehand clipper cutting technique tends to be used on two extremes of hair length, very short and longer, very curly hair lengths. For example, the freehand technique can be used to taper the nape area from the hairline into the longer sections at the occipital. Begin in the center of the nape area and comb the hair down. Palm the comb and steady the clipper with the opposite hand while cutting the hair. A second method of using the freehand clipper technique is to sculpt tight curl patterns that require shaping and shortening. Yet a third method is to freehand clipper cut against the scalp or skin. When guards are placed on top of a clipper blade, more hair length remains while cutting. This is not considered to be a freehand clipper cutting method. Much like the shear-over comb technique, clipper-over comb cutting can be used to cut the entire head of hair or to blend the hair from shorter, tapered areas to longer-haired areas such as the top, crest, or occipital. The comb places the hair in a position to be cut and utilizes the same blending principles as shear-over comb technique. Freehand clipper cutting, clipper over comb, and fingers and shear work are techniques that are frequently combined to perform a single haircut. Cutting and tapering the hair with clippers is accomplished in the following ways. Cutting against the grain is accomplished by cutting the hair in the opposite direction from which it grows. Taper the hair by gradually tilting the clipper until it rides on its heel. Cutting with the grain means the cutting is performed in the same direction in which the hair grows. When using a clipper on hair that has a tight curl formation, try to cut with the grain or growth pattern. Cutting tight, curly hair against the grain clogs up the clipper blades and may leave patches or spots in the haircut. When cutting across the grain with clippers, the hair is cut neither with nor against the grain. This direction in cutting is usually performed on the sides and back of the head to blend transition lines in very short haircut styles. Cutting the hair in a circular motion using clippers is advisable in rural areas or in places where the hair does not grow in a uniform manner. The barber can create many distinctive effects with razor cutting. This method is especially suitable for thinning, shortening, tapering, blending, or feathering specific areas and can help make resistant hair textures more manageable. When handling the razor, it's important to observe the following safety precautions. Handle the razor properly, keeping it closed whenever it's not in use. When working with any sharp tool or implement, be aware of the people around you. One careless movement can cause injury to yourself or others. Purchase and use only top quality hair cutting tools. Use changeable blade razors and always dispose of used blades in a sharps container. Replace dull razor blades even during a cut if necessary, because a dull razor pulls the hair, causing pain or discomfort to your client. Dull blades also affect the quality of your haircut. Do your razor stroking and combing in one continuous movement. The razor tapers while the comb removes cut hair and recombs for the next stroke. Pace yourself. It's always better to taper a little at a time than to taper too much at once. For light taper blending, hold the razor almost flat against the surface of the hair with just a little pressure. Heavier taper blending is performed with the razor held up to 45 degrees from the surface of the hair strand. As the razor is tilted higher and a little more pressure is used, the depth of the cut increases. Terminal blending means that the angle of the razor blade is increased to almost 90 degrees, and short sawing strokes are used. Other terms for terminal blending are hair end tapering and blunt cutting. A second method of razor cutting is called the razor over comb technique. This technique is often used to taper nape areas, remove excess bulk, or to soften weight lines. A third method is the razor rotation technique. Hold the razor in the freehand position just above the comb. The razor follows the comb's downward direction through the hair, and then the comb follows the razor. Apply short, precise strokes with medium pressure.